Ruben Amorim's recent quotes suggest that Manchester United will almost certainly be playing in a 3-4-3 formation, and that means we will definitely have wing-backs in our side. But what actually are wing-backs? How do they work in the Amorim system? And do United actually have any players that can play that role? Well, today we're going to figure it out. First of all, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 40k this year, so if you could subscribe, it would be a massive help. And then we'll get into the video. So we're going to start off this video in a fairly basic manner, and then as we go towards the end of the video, we'll add more detail and go into it in a more intricate depth with the tactical setup. First things first, let's remove goalkeepers from the equation. Let's be honest, do any of us think the goalkeepers will play wing-back? Absolutely not, so they can get out of here. Physically, what do wing-backs need for Ruben Amorim? Well, the first thing they need is stamina. They need to be able to get up and down the pitch all day long. The reason they need to be able to do this is because at times they will attack in the final third and be on the last line. At times, though, they will be defending as part of a back five. But then in the next moment, they will be back to pressing high up the pitch. This takes a lot of stamina, and it allows us to remove the centre-backs from the equation, but also realistically, Casemiro and Eriksen as well. They are unlikely to be able to play this sort of role. Something else that is required of the wing-backs from a physical point of view is a decent amount of speed. Again, if you're going up and down the pitch a lot, you're attacking a lot of space, it helps if you're fairly quick to actually be able to attack that space. And that's going to remove players from the equation like Kobbie Mainoo and probably Manuel Ugarte as well. And then the other thing we have to consider from a physical point of view is these players don't just need to be quick, but they actually need to be intense with the way that they run. They have to be really nippy and sharp up and down the pitch. No lethargic play. They have to be willing to do a lot of sprinting. So that probably removes someone like Marcus Rashford, Joshua Zirkzee, and also Harry Amas as well. So physically, this is kind of where we're at with the players that can do the job. If we now look at some of the technical skills required of a wingback, we are able to remove a few more players. For example, a wingback, especially in the Ruben Amorim system, needs to be able to go both ways. At times they're going to fly around on the overlap, right? They'll get into the final third. For example, a right wingback on his right foot looking to cross into the box. They need to be able to do that. But in moments, Amorim does like his wingbacks to come inside a little bit as well, a little bit more infield. And certain players in the Manchester United squad certainly can't do that. For example, we are looking at Toby Collier. Isn't really someone that can do that sort of two-way job, so he is removed from the equation. The other thing we need from a technical aspect from our wingbacks is a decent bit of final third delivery. We are relying on these guys getting into the final third and therefore being a chance creation outlet. There are certain footballers at this club that aren't creative. Rasmus Højlund would be one of them, and also Ethan Wheatley as well. So physically and technically, none of those players that we've discussed so far really fit the bill of a wingback. So we've figured out so far most of these players, either from a physical point of view or a technical point of view, don't fit the system. They don't fit the wingback role. Tactically, things are a little bit different, and the reason for that is because Ruben Amorim's system is quite different to most other managers in the way that he uses his wingbacks. But we'll start off with actually a similarity to the usual wingback system, and that is just simply your wingbacks tend to play out wide. United have a couple of players that you probably don't want to restrict to wide positions. One of those would be Mason Mount because his energy is good in the middle, but also Bruno Fernandes as well. He's so good centrally, you probably don't want him out wide. So those two are removed from the equation for me. The next thing we need is players that are reliable, fit, and can actually play on a regular basis. You see, the wingback position is extremely intricate in the Ruben Amorim system. It's two of his key players. These are absolutely essential. This has to be right at United for this to work. Therefore, these players need to understand the patterns. They need to develop understandings and relationships with players around them. So we can't really have our injury-prone players in these positions. So Luke Shaw and Tyrone Malacia probably come out of the conversation. And we are now left with this group of players. We have to narrow it down from these five. These five are the five players that, in my opinion, could play wingback. The question is, how does it actually look? Now, fortunately for Ruben Amorim, most of these players can actually play on both sides of the pitch, so that is certainly a really good start. But if we position the players like this, Dalot, Mazraoui and Garnacho on the left, Anthony and Ahmad on the right, there is the potential for Ruben Amorim to use weak foot or wrong foot wingbacks, if you like. And there are a few benefits to doing this, and this is something that he has done a lot at Sporting. With someone like Quenda playing on the right hand side, he's actually left footed, but it works really nicely. So what is the benefit of using these wrong-footed wing-backs? Well, let's remove a couple of players initially. Let's take Garnacho and Mazraoui out, and let's take Anthony out as well, for example. So let's say these are the two wing-backs. We've got a right-footed player on the left, a little bit odd, and a left-footed player on the right. This is where Ruben Amorim's system is very different to other back three managers. Most teams don't normally do this. However, Amorim's system has a lot of benefits when playing in this way. One of the big benefits is the ability to create space on the far side of the pitch. You see, what you can do in this system, let's push a centre-back into midfield like so. What you can do in this system is move the ball to one side. Perhaps you go to the left centre-back and then your left wing-back. What the opposition do, of course, is move over to that side of the pitch to try and suffocate you. So the winger might come over, the striker, the midfield, but also the far winger is likely to come into these positions, and you can see the opposition are trying to squeeze you to this side of the pitch. However, if you can get the ball over to the far side, there's actually quite a lot of room. What is the perfect way to get that ball to the far side? You guessed it, the weak foot wing back. You see Dalot in this position can naturally come inside onto his right foot, and this is now an easier pass for him to play. And the same on the other side of the pitch as well. Let's say the opposition squeezed over to this side of the pitch, left a bit of room on the far side. The perfect player to play that pass is actually a left-footed wing-back, switching the play to the other side. And we have seen Sporting trying to do this season. For example, against Manchester City last week, you can see it here. The ball is on the right-hand side of the defence, and it has worked to the left-footed right wing-back. And you can see Manchester City respond, they react, they try and get over to that side of the pitch, force the team to one side, suffocate and try and nick the ball back. However, because the right wing-back is left-footed, he's actually really comfortable in this situation. He cuts inside onto his stronger left foot, where there's a little bit more room for him, and then he plays the big switch to the other side of the pitch, and suddenly his team is out of the press. This is the benefit of it. We've got another situation here which is fairly similar. Again, Manchester City applying pressure over to this side of the pitch. The left-footed right wing-back comes inside the pitch onto his stronger left foot and is able to play the pass through. And again, his team is out of the press. So this is one massive benefit of using the system in this way. There is also a massive benefit to using this system when the ball is actually on the other side of the pitch as well. So we've spoken already about how the big switch initially is really useful to find a bit of space, and it absolutely is. But the actual benefits of this extend further than that. So let's take a step backwards. We've played the ball to the right hand side and we have gone to our left-footed right wing back. What has happened? The opposition have tried to squeeze over and close us off into one position. Okay, so far so good. Our left-footed, or wrong-footed if you like, wing back is going to cut inside and play the switch to the other side. Very good, this is how far we've got so far. How did the opposition then react to this though? Because that's the important thing here. The opposition are always reacting and trying to make changes and trying to apply pressure. Well, ultimately, as that ball gets switched, the opposition feel the need to shift over. What happens when they do this though? You see the opposition have been moved over to the left hand side, they've been stretched and then moved over back to the right hand side. What happens when teams are shuttling across the pitch like that? Ultimately they leave gaps and there can be errors in communication, and particularly in the defensive line, gaps can start to appear if players aren't perfectly in line with each other. This is where again the wrong-footed wing-back is really useful to play a first-time hooked ball into the channel or in behind for the striker to run onto, particularly if the inside forward comes towards the ball, dragging the attention of the fullback. This pass is now available for the striker to run in behind. Again, the wrong-footed wing-back is essential to this. And again, we have examples of this against Manchester City. So the ball is being built on the far side. Possession is on the far side of the pitch. And once again, Manchester City have crowded that side like so. But eventually, the ball comes over to this side. Sporting do a really good job. They move the ball towards the other side of the pitch. Manchester City, as we can see, are going to react. They're going to get all their players over this side to stop any space. However, at the back, they are a little bit stretched. And the wrong-footed wing-back is the perfect player to drop deep, receive the ball, and then play this ball in behind the opposition defence. First time, hooked around the corner, like that for your striker to run onto. That is a really, really effective way of moving the ball forward in this system. In terms of the Manchester United players, I think Dalot could absolutely play that pass. I think Mazraoui could play that ball. And I think Anthony could as well. Ahmad, I'm a little bit uncertain, to be honest. We haven't really seen that longer passing in his game. And Garnacho, I'm not too sure either. He has had some good switches in his career, but I don't know if he is the player to play the ball around the corner. But it is something to consider. The other thing we need to consider with what we've looked at so far is that quite often these players are receiving the ball with their back to play. So for example, in a situation like this, let's quickly grab the ball. The ball is played down the right hand side, Ahmad comes towards the ball. A lot of the time we are looking at a player receiving with their back to goal. Again, I think Ahmad and Anthony would be strong here. I think Dalot and Mazraoui would, because they are used to doing it. Garnacho, I'm not so sure, because he has made errors in this area early in his career already. However, purely for development reasons, it might actually be a good thing for him to play in this position, because it would ultimately improve his ball retention over time. So it could be something that Amorim looks to do just to actually improve Garnacho even further as a player, which would be great for such a young talent. Now so far we have looked at the benefits of the inverted or the wrong-footed wing-back in deeper positions, but this actually extends to much further up the pitch as well. You see, I said right at the start, wing-backs are essential in this system. They provide the width in the final third and ultimately do need to create in the final third. They don't necessarily have to score goals and get hatfuls of assists, but they have to be contributing in attacking positions, and wrong-footed wingbacks can be quite useful to do this. The question is why? Well, what we're going to look at here is the body orientation of the opposition back four. You will notice we have the ball on the right wing in this position here, and all of these defenders are sort of side on. Now, if we had a right-footed wingback on this side, for example, Diogo Dalot, let's quickly spin him around. Let's say we had Dalot on this side of the pitch. He's going to play this ball to the underlapping forward, something that we've spoken about before, by the way. We've got a video recently, go check it out. But the ball we're looking at is the pass in behind the opposition defence for the underlapping forward to get onto. Now, when a right footer plays this pass, you can see that these defenders are already naturally side on. So when this ball is played, it is easier for them to deal with this because they are already side on. That makes it easier to accelerate and get into these positions. However, if we switch the wing backs over like so, and now suddenly bring a left footer into the team, things are a little bit different because watch what happens. Amad Diallo has the ball, and initially he threatens as though he is going to go outside of the pitch, something he can do, we spoke about it the other day. Therefore, the opposition are side on. They are ready for anything in the channel. However, Amad quickly changes the picture by cutting inside onto his left foot. What happens when he cuts inside? Watch this. Amad comes inside onto his left foot like this. What happens? The orientation of all the defenders is going to change because suddenly the player is in front of them. They are faced up with them a little bit more. So the fullback is likely to be a bit more square, like this, but so is the near-sided centre-back. This means that if we now get that run in behind the opposition defence and can now play that underlapping ball, the opposition defenders are not in the body position to deal with these situations, and then you can get towards the byline into the box, cut balls back, and suddenly a striker can start scoring goals. Rasmus Højlund would love this sort of service. Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, Garnacho, Amad, these are all players that could benefit from this in the inside forward position, and once again, it's because of our wrong-footed wingbacks. And then the other thing that Ruben Amorim will want from his wingbacks in the final third is actually goal output. You see, we spoke about this the other week, looking at Sporting Lisbon's attacking patterns. Go check out that video, by the way. But we spoke about how when you attack with a front five, up against a back four, often you will have the spare man at the far post. 9 times out of 10, that is going to be your wing-back. So I think Amorim will also want a genuine goal output. Again, you're probably looking at Amad, Anthony, Garnacho, players like that, more than Dalot and Mazraoui. Regardless of all of this, what we can see when we put it all together is Ruben Amorim has options. For me, there are 5 players that can definitely play wing-back in this system. There's also 2 or 3 more which maybe could come into the equation because physically and technically they have the capability. It might require tactical adjustment. But Amorim has options. Now I'm going to pass it over to you guys. What are the best options? You've seen what he wants from his wingbacks in the deep phase, playing out from the back, in the middle phase, and also attacking in the final third. So now I'm going to hand it over to you guys. Who are the best players to play wingback in this system? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.